My fiancée slept with her ex the week before our wedding, so I sent screenshots to her dad, called off everything, and watched her cry in her wedding dress. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and I thought I'd finally found peace after years of heartbreak. Before Lauren. I'd been through 2 failed relationships, both ending with me realizing that loyalty doesn't always mean love in return. So when I met her, everything felt different. She had this way of looking at me like she actually saw me, not the version of me I tried to be, but the man underneath, the one who still believed love could heal. We met at a friend's birthday dinner. She was sitting across the table, laughing at something stupid I said, and I remember thinking, God, I hope she keeps laughing like that around me. She was bright radiant even. A graphic designer with a soft voice and a mind full of ideas. The kind of person who could talk about color palettes one second and life's purpose the next. 2 years later, I knelt in the exact spot where we had our first date. A little cafe downtown with mismatched chairs and fairy lights, and asked her to marry me. She didn't even let me finish my sentence before whispering yes. Tears filled her eyes as she pulled me up, hugging me so tight I could barely breathe. That night, as we danced in our tiny apartment, barefoot and dizzy with excitement, I thought, this is it. This is forever. The months that followed were a blur of happiness. Venue visits, cake tastings, family dinners where my mom called her the one. We'd stay up late planning every detail, her scrolling through floral arrangements, me pretending to care about napkin colors just to see her smile. Every fight we had seemed small, fixable. She'd always say, you and me, no matter what. And I believed her. If someone had told me that the woman I loved would destroy everything I stood for, I would have laughed. Back then, I thought love was unbreakable. But I was about to learn how fragile forever really is. The weeks leading up to the wedding were supposed to be the happiest of our lives. Everywhere I went, people kept saying how lucky I was. You found a rare one, my dad told me. And I agreed. Lauren had this glow about her, part nerves, part excitement. She was constantly buried in spreadsheets and color schemes, stressing over centerpieces and catering menus. I kept telling her, babe, it's just one day. What matters is us. She'd smile faintly and say, I know, but I just want everything perfect for you. Still, I couldn't shake this faint distance creeping between us. It wasn't loud or obvious, it was the small things. The way she'd lock her phone when I walked into the room. How she started keeping her laptop closed even when working. Or how she suddenly claimed she was too tired to watch our favorite show together. At first, I brushed it off. Planning a wedding is chaos. People get overwhelmed. But deep down, something in me stirred a quiet, uneasy voice whispering that something was off. One night, as I lay beside her, I noticed her scrolling through her phone, her face illuminated by that pale blue light. I half joked, texting your secret lover? Expecting her to laugh like she always did. Instead, she froze. Just for a second, but long enough. Then she smiled and said, just talking with my maid of honor about the dress fitting. I laughed it off, but my stomach tightened. Her phone buzzed again after she fell asleep. I reached for it out of reflex, but stopped halfway. That's not who I am. I trusted her. I wanted to trust her. The next morning, she kissed me on the cheek and said, don't stress today, okay? We're almost there. Her tone was sweet, but her eyes, they looked somewhere else. I told myself I was imagining it. That love meant believing, even when doubt whispered. But that whisper was getting louder by the day. It was a Thursday afternoon when the first real crack appeared. I came home early from work, hoping to surprise Lauren with dinner and a quiet evening together. When I walked in, she was on the balcony, phone pressed to her ear, laughing softly. Not her usual polite laugh, the deep, carefree one I hadn't heard in weeks. I froze at the sound of it. It felt like hearing a memory that didn't belong to me anymore. I caught fragments of her words through the open door. I can't believe we're even talking again. No, it's not weird. It's actually nice. My chest tightened. I stepped closer, and she turned just as I opened the sliding door. Her expression flickered surprise, then guilt, then that carefully curated smile she used when she was hiding something. "Hey, babe," she said quickly. "Just catching up with Kelly about her trip." She hung up before I could respond. I nodded slowly, pretending not to notice her hand trembling slightly as she set the phone down. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, of course," she said, forcing a laugh. "You're acting weird." The rest of the evening felt heavy. I wanted to believe her, but the name Kelly looped in my head like static. Later that night, while scrolling through Instagram, I noticed a tagged photo of Lauren at a cafe 2 days earlier. Sitting across from her, smiling casually, was Mark, her ex. The caption read, "Old friends catching up." I felt my stomach drop. Mark, the guy who broke her heart before I ever knew her. The guy she swore she had no feelings for. I stared at the screen until my phone dimmed. When I asked her about it the next morning, she sighed. "It was just closure, okay? We needed to clear the air before I got married. Don't make it weird." I wanted to trust her. I really did. But as I watched her walk away, something inside me whispered that closure wasn't what she was after. A week before the wedding, things felt strange. Lauren was distant but affectionate, anxious yet oddly calm. She claimed it was just bridal stress, but something about her tone felt rehearsed, almost hollow. I was working late that week, finalizing a big contract before our honeymoon. And I told her I might not be home until midnight. She kissed me softly at the door and said, "Don't overwork yourself, okay? You'll ruin that honeymoon tan before it starts." She smiled, but her eyes didn't match the warmth of her words. Around 11:45 p.m., I texted her, "On my way home." "You up?" No reply. Midnight. Still nothing. By 1 a.m., I was pacing the apartment parking lot, the silence louder than my heartbeat. I told myself maybe she fell asleep early. But when I entered our apartment, the lights were off, completely dark. Her shoes weren't by the door. Her purse wasn't on the counter. And her phone charger, always plugged beside the bed, was gone. I sat on the couch for an hour, trying to rationalize the irrational. Maybe she went to her friend's house. Maybe her mom's. Every scenario felt thinner than air. I finally texted her again. "You okay?" No response. Just the empty gray of unsent bubbles. When she walked in at 4:30 a.m., her hair was messy, her makeup smudged, and she reeked faintly of perfume that wasn't hers. My throat went dry. "Where were you?" I asked quietly. She flinched, then smiled weakly. "Babe, relax. The girls threw me a last-minute mini bachelorette thing. I didn't want to tell you so you wouldn't worry." I wanted to believe her so badly. But her voice wavered, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. She curled up beside me in bed a few minutes later, whispering, "You trust me, right?" I whispered back, "Of course." But my gut burned with the kind of fear that only comes before your world collapses, and by morning. I'd learned that fear wasn't paranoia, it was prophecy. 2 mornings later, I was sitting at my desk, half awake, sipping cold coffee, when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Lauren. Or so I thought. I opened it expecting a casual good morning. Instead, my screen filled with a picture nothing scandalous, just a familiar corner of a bed. Rumpled sheets, a wine glass on a nightstand. Then another message followed. "Last night was perfect." I missed this so much. My hands went numb. For a second, I thought maybe she was being cute, trying to flirt. But then I noticed the name at the top of the thread. It wasn't mine. She had sent it to me by mistake. I stared at the screen, my pulse thundering in my ears. I typed, "Who was that meant for, Lauren?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. A full minute passed before she replied, "What? That wasn't for you. It was for my friend. We were joking around." My throat tightened. "Really? You missed your friend last night?" "In bed?" She called instantly, her voice trembling. "Babe, please, it's not what you think." Mark texted me about closure, and we just talked. That message wasn't real. Her words tripped over each other like broken glass. I didn't say a thing. Just silence. She begged, "Please don't ruin this over nothing." "I love you." After we hung up, I sat there frozen, replaying her tone, her hesitation. The way she said Mark's name like it tasted sweet and bitter all at once. I opened her social media, nothing unusual. Then I checked our shared cloud folder, the one she thought I never used. Buried in the recently deleted files was a photo of her in that same room, same sheets, same wine glass. That was the moment it hit me.
Oh.
The night she claimed was a bachelorette hangout was actually the night she spent with him. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at her picture until the screen dimmed and whispered to myself, "All right then. Game on." I didn't sleep that night. My head felt like a war zone. Every memory, every kiss, every "I love you now" felt like a lie wrapped in silk. The sun was barely up when I sat at my computer and opened every shared account we had. The cloud, the emails, the photo backups, anything I could access without crossing legal lines. I wasn't looking to destroy her. I just needed truth. The kind of truth that leaves no room for denial. It didn't take long. Hidden beneath folders labeled wedding budget and invites, I found a string of screenshots, messages from Mark. They weren't even careful. Flirty texts, drunk confessions. And then, the one that gutted me. "Mark, I can't believe you're marrying him after this. Lauren, he's good to me, but you're my weakness." I sat there, staring at those words until my chest felt hollow. Every promise she ever made replayed in my head like a cruel joke. "You and me, no matter what." She said that. She looked me in the eyes and said that. When I confronted her that evening, I kept my voice calm. To calm, "How long have you been talking to him?" I asked. She froze mid-step. "Who?" "Mark," I said, holding up my phone with the screenshots. "Your weakness." Her face drained of color. "You went through my stuff?" That's what she chose to focus on. Not the betrayal, not the messages, my invasion of her privacy. "Lauren," I said quietly, "you slept with him," she stammered. "It was a mistake. I was drunk." "I didn't mean," I interrupted. "You meant it enough to lie about it," she cried. Begged me not to tell anyone. Said she was terrified of losing everything. But I'd already lost everything. I just hadn't accepted it yet. And somewhere between her tears and excuses, a calm voice inside me said, "Don't fight. Just document." Because the next time she lied, I wanted the world to see the truth for themselves. The next few days felt like living in someone else's life. Lauren and I went through the motions, answering calls from vendors, finalizing payments, pretending everything was fine. She acted like our confrontation never happened, like if she smiled hard enough she could rewrite reality. I didn't fight it. I matched her tone, perfectly gentle, supportive, loving. Every "I love you" she whispered, I echoed. Every kiss she gave, I returned. But inside, I was empty. I spent my nights planning. Not revenge in the violent, chaotic sense, but exposure. Truth presented calmly, publicly, and undeniably. I started backing up every message, photo, and receipt. I labeled everything neatly in folders, texts, photos, timeline. Each file was a piece of the story she tried to bury at dinner one evening. She reached across the table and said softly, "I'm glad we're okay. I was so scared I'd lose you." I met her eyes and smiled. "You'll never lose me, Lauren." "Not yet." She looked relieved, even tearful. It made me sick. The ease with which she believed I'd moved past it told me everything about her guilt. My silence was the perfect punishment. Because silence makes liars think they've won. That weekend, she planned a small get-together with her family. I watched her laugh. Watched her mom hug her and say, "You're glowing, sweetheart." And all I could think about was how icily she wore masks that night. After everyone left, she laid her head on my chest and said, "I can't wait to be your wife." I looked at the ceiling, her hand resting on my heart, and whispered, "Yeah, it's going to be unforgettable." She smiled, drifting to sleep. While I stared into the dark, knowing she had no idea how right I was. The calm wasn't peace. It was the quiet before I tore her perfect little world apart. 2 days later, I met my best friend, Dan Bessman Jason, for coffee. He'd known me since college, The kind of friend who could read my silence better than my words. I didn't even have to say much. He took one look at me and said, "Something's wrong." What happened? I slid my phone across the table. The folder was open, messages, photos, the proof. He scrolled through in silence, his jaw tightening. "Dude," he muttered finally. "You're not still going through with the wedding, are you?" I shook my head. "No, but I'm not calling it off quietly either." Jason leaned back, watching me carefully. "What are you planning?" "I'm going to let her bury herself," I said. "Everyone thinks she's perfect. Her family, her friends, my parents. They all adore her. I just want the truth to stand on its own. No yelling, no drama, just evidence." He exhaled, half impressed, half worried. "You're playing with fire." "I know," I said quietly. But she lit the match. We spent hours talking, figuring out the details. Jason helped me print out screenshots, organize them chronologically, and store everything on a private drive. He offered to be there when I exposed Hurt to keep me steady if things got heated. "You sure you want to do this in front of everyone?" He asked one last time. "Yeah," I said, my voice steady. "She took everything good in me and turned it into a lie. The least I can do is make sure that lie dies in daylight." By the time I left, the plan was set. The wedding rehearsal was in 3 days, both families, the bridal party, all in one room. As I drove home, city lights blurred through my windshield. My chest felt tight, but my mind was calm. Lauren thought I'd forgiven her. She thought she'd won, and I was about to give her one last perfect moment before. I took everything away. The day of the rehearsal arrived, cloaked in irony. It was beautiful. Golden sunlight poured through the tall church windows, the air humming with music and chatter. Everyone was smiling, hugging, congratulating. Lauren looked radiant in her white rehearsal dress, twirling as her mother gushed over how angelic she looked. To anyone else, it was a picture-perfect moment. To me, it was a stage, and I was done playing my part. As everyone gathered near the altar, Jason gave me a small nod from across the room. That was our signal. My heart pounded, but not from nerves, just clarity. I stood up, cleared my throat, and said, "Before we run through everything, I'd like to say a few words." The chatter faded. Dozens of eyes turned to Lauren's included. She smiled, expecting something sweet, maybe sentimental. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. "You all deserve to know who you're celebrating," I said quietly. "Especially you, Mr. and Mrs. Collins." Parents looked confused. Lauren's smile faltered, with one tap. I airdropped the folder to everyone's devices: family, friends, bridesmaids, groomsmen. Phones buzzed and screens lit up, and then silence. Absolute silence. Her father's face went white as he stared at the messages. Her mother gasped, covering her mouth. Jason stood still, expression unreadable. Lauren froze, then stumbled forward. No, this is twisted. He's lying." Her voice cracked, desperation seeping in. I looked at her, calm and steady. "Then show them your phone, Lauren. Let's clear it up." She hesitated, clutching her bag like it was a life raft. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of the air conditioner and the shuffling of someone leaving the priest. Quietly excusing himself, her father stepped forward, voice trembling with fury. "You humiliated this man and this family." Lauren's eyes filled with tears. "Please, I can explain," but I was already walking away. The evidence spoke louder than she ever could, and for the first time since I'd found out the truth, I felt something close to peace. The church that once echoed with laughter now rang with silence and shame. I stood just outside the doors, the cool evening air hitting my face like a shock back into reality. Behind me, the chaos unfolded: muffled sobs, raised voices, and the sound of my name being called again and again. I didn't turn around. I'd already seen enough. Lauren's father stormed past me a few minutes later, his jaw clenched, eyes burning. "You did the right thing," he said flatly, then climbed into his car without another word. Her mother followed, holding back tears, whispering, "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," before leaving too. It was strange. I wasn't angry anymore, just hollow. like I'd emptied everything out and left it on that altar. A few moments later, I heard heels clicking behind me. "Please." Lauren's voice broke through the cold air. "Please, can we just talk?" I turned. Her makeup was streaked, her hair falling apart, her dress wrinkled from her trembling hands clutching it. For a second, I saw the woman I loved, the one who made me believe in forever. Then I remembered the texts, the lies, the nights she spent with him. "There's nothing left to say," I said quietly. She stepped closer, tears spilling down her face. "It was a mistake. I was drunk, and I didn't know how to stop it. I swear, I didn't mean to hurt you." I met her eyes. "You didn't just hurt me, Lauren. You killed something that can't come back." She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. "Please, just go home," I whispered. "The wedding's off. We're done." Her sobs followed me as I walked toward my car, echoing in the empty parking lot. And for the first time in months, I wasn't chasing. Paisai was creating it. Still, as I started the engine, I caught one last glimpse of her through the mirror crying in her white dress. Surrounded by everything she'd destroyed, it should have felt like victory. But all it felt like was freedom. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of notifications. Dozens of missed calls, unread messages, and voicemails from people who had been at the rehearsal. Some offered sympathy. Others wanted details. A few just said they couldn't believe what they saw. I didn't respond to any of them. I wasn't looking for validation. I already had it. The truth was out, and for the first time in weeks, I could breathe without second-guessing myself. Lauren tried reaching me constantly. First, it was texts. "Please, I can explain." Then voice messages, crying, saying she needed closure. After that, her tone shifted. Anger, denial, guilt. I ignored every single one. Silence became my armor. And every minute I didn't reply felt like reclaiming another piece of myself she'd taken. I deleted our photos from social media, canceled the honeymoon tickets, and sent one last email to her father with the folder of evidence just labeled for clarity. No bitterness. No words, just facts. He replied hours later with a short message. Understood. Take care of yourself, son. That was all I needed. I moved my things out of our apartment while she was at work, left the keys on the counter, and took nothing but what I'd paid for. The place smelled like her perfume, like the life we almost had. For a brief second, I hesitated at the door. Then I reminded myself she made this choice. I was just finally choosing myself too. In the days that followed, the silence grew comforting. The chaos she'd created stopped at my doorstep because I refused to open it again. I didn't need revenge anymore. The exposure, the truth, it was enough. Lauren wanted me to fight for her, to scream, to break down. But I didn't. I let her live with what she did. Because sometimes the loudest revenge is never saying another word. Months passed. The wedding date came and went like a ghost, quiet, meaningless. I spent that day hiking alone, standing on a ridge overlooking the city where we were supposed to start our forever. It felt strange, almost poetic, to watch the sunset instead of walking down an aisle. I wasn't bitter anymore. I was just free. The kind of freedom that comes after you've burned through every ounce of pain and come out is clean on the other side. I started therapy a few weeks after everything happened. At first, I just sat in silence, staring at the clock, trying to figure out how to talk about something that hollowed me out. But eventually, I found words about trust, about betrayal, about how love can turn into manipulation so slowly you don't even notice until it's choking you. My therapist told me healing isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering without hurting. That stuck with me. I changed jobs, moved apartments, and slowly rebuilt a life that didn't revolve around us. Every day got a little quieter, a little easier. I stopped checking her social media, stopped wondering what she was doing, stopped caring who she was with. She reached out once more months later just to say she missed me. I never replied. There was nothing left to say. One evening, I joined a local hiking group. That's where I met Mia. She was kind, grounded, and most importantly, honest. No games, no secrets. We talked for hours on that first trail, and when I told her a bit about my past, she just said, You didn't lose. You learned. Looking back now, I don't hate Lauren. I don't wish her pain. I just hope she remembers what she threw away the same way I remember what I survived. Forever wasn't what I thought it was. But peace. Peace is real. And I finally found it without her.